The majority of you watching this video have likely played video games or still continue to this day. I myself still play video games now and have enjoyed them for the majority of my life. One of the quintessential parts of any game are the locations, areas, or levels depending on the genre. These places can create a certain atmosphere that enhances the player's experience. These atmospheres can range from happy-go-lucky to peaceful to unnerving, and that's where our subject of the day comes in. Today, we'll be talking about some really creepy areas in video games. There are no rules, but I will say this list of subjects isn't in any particular order. Some will just be worse than others. With that being said, follow my Twitter and Instagram if you want, and let's get into some creepy areas in video games. Animal Crossing New Leaf is a game that was released in 2012 by Nintendo for the 3DS. I'm sure a lot of you have either played or seen this game before, if not the game series. With that being said, I'll still explain what the game is generally about for those unfamiliar. You are the mayor over a town of anthropomorphic animals, and you're able to catch bugs and fish, use different facilities like Tom Nook's store in the museum, and much more. One of the additions to this series was the ability to customize your town as the mayor. This ability can allow you to create just about any town you want. Of course, this alludes to our first two entries in this video, these being Ica Village and Hitoku Village. Ica Village is the more famous of the two, being showcased by people like Mullet Mike and Chugga Conroy. We'll start with Ica Village. For transparency's sake, I'll be going by the same sequence of events that Mullet Mike did in his videos. When first arriving at the island, you receive a doll with a red outfit on. This will make more sense as you continue to explore more on the island. There are several houses on this island that the creator uses to tell a story, along with certain outside areas that help shape the plot further. The first house is surrounded by flowers in the northern part of the city. The Hypno KK theme plays in the background after you enter, and you notice three figures at a table. One, dressed in a red and white hat and shirt, is sitting in front of a birthday cake. Clearly, this is some sort of birthday party. Wow, how long did it take you to think of that one, am I right, guys? There's a room in the back that's blocked off, as well as an upstairs area that contains three paintings and a doll in the center. The pictures depict a girl, her family, and her dog, and the doll is dressed similarly to the figure downstairs. In the background, you notice more toys and a pacifier, as well as a dollhouse in the front. A girl dressed in the same outfit as the figure at the table is in the house or just outside of it. She says, "I love my mommy," in Japanese. The second house's main room is full of stools and screens depicting someone running. When entering the back room, you see a group of dolls and stuffed animals facing away from you. If you turn the camera around, you'll also notice a pretty creepy pair of eyes on the wall staring at you as well. On the second floor, you'll see the symbolism of Adam and Eve from the Bible. In the basement is another celebration. When turning the camera, you'll notice that behind a doll in red is an axe that's laying on the ground. There's a graveyard in the town, and if you try to dig up the dirt around the grave, you dig up a doghouse. This is likely a grim reference to the dog represented in the painting earlier. At this point, if you talk to the same girl in red, she'll still say, "I love my mommy." However, the text will be really distorted. The first room of the third house is full of bookshelves and contains a red doll with an axe sitting in front of it. Upstairs, the furniture contains the designs of the girl and the dog from the paintings in the first house, as well as the same doll from before watching a static TV. Back in the main room, if you walk through the maze of books, you'll be able to reach a room to the right that contains 8 Easter eggs in front of a piano. The northern room contains papers all over the floor and 2 glass cases with journals inside. Downstairs, you'll mainly notice the same red doll beside a bed with the outline of someone's body on it. If you talk to the girl in red again, you'll only receive a string of jumbled text. The final house has the same layout as the first one, however, it's clearly been either abandoned or neglected as there are items all over the floor in the main room. When going upstairs, the paintings of the dog and girl are completely blacked out, and the girl has also been taken out of the picture with her parents as well. The toys are facing towards the wall, and there's a doll in red with an axe beside the former dog painting. The back room is now accessible, unlike in the first house. In this room, there were a series of heads facing the girl in red and the doll in red with an axe, them closed off from the rest of the world. There is no definitive answer from the creator on what exact events played out in this scenario. It's possible that the girl in red took the life of the girl and the dog in the paintings. It's possible that the girl in red is the one who had their life taken. It's really up to you to decide. Nevertheless, that doesn't take away from the creepy atmosphere of this village. Now, on to Hitoku. Hitoku is another village that originated in Animal Crossing New Leaf. This village also has a series of houses that paint a specific story. When walking into the first house, you'll see a depiction of a regular coffee shop. In a room to the right, you'll notice a bathroom area with a strange picture that looks very similar to the intruder from the Mandela catalog to me for some reason. In the northern room, there's a normal kitchen area with food laid out and cooking. The room to the left contains a dining room with food also laid out. Upstairs is a slightly dilapidated room that someone has been recently living in. There are items laying around and a recently unboxed pizza on the table, as well as a coat on a chair at the table. Then we have the basement. Oh boy. Definitely a stark increase in the creepiness factor here, as we see a skeleton, some recently used knives, and a slab of meat on a table to the left along with a dirty butcher's outfit and a black trash bag. There's also some meat cooking on the center table, which is likely of the human variety. When talking to the chef with an eye patch, aka the owner of the house, he says, "How about a tasty meat dish?" The next house contains what seems to be a church area in the main room. The room to the left is an old and dirty bedroom. The stains are noticeably reminiscent of old stains. There's also a couple of dresses on the wall, one especially containing the same stains that are on the bed and couch. The right room has what seems to be a jail cell, a table with Bibles, poker chips, and a bottle, and the wall covered in crosses and the word help. There are also drawings on the ground which seem to depict some type of creature eating someone. One single chair sits in the jail cell, possibly of the person depicted in the drawings. The back room is a cemetery, with statues posing among the graves. Upstairs there's clearly a ritual room with a pattern of dead birds on the floor and a painting of some sort of summoning symbol in the middle of the room. The basement contains a dirty bathroom with broken bars over the window and an axe beside the bathtub. The owner of the house, a woman with glasses, says, "My back hurts." The main room of the third house is the doctor's office. The doctor can actually sometimes be seen in this room. Clearly this doctor has just gotten finished with some type of medical procedure. What they say seems to be along the lines of not missing someone, possibly a victim, followed by evil laughter. In the back room we can see some type of surgery area with several different types of equipment and the same privacy curtains you see between hospital beds. When going into the room to the right we see a display room containing fish and shells. In the back behind glass we see 3 faces laid out. The left room contains a sick bay, something you've probably seen in historical photos of the Spanish flu for example. Upstairs is a red room with a static TV that seems to be a children's room, and on the bed you can see a red human-shaped stain. There's an IV bag beside the bed and an axe in the back. In the basement there's a person behind bars with a skeleton laying on the ground. A security camera is filming the area as well. Glad to know that more than one resident is participating in the same activities. Statues were also seen in the graveyard room around the area. The final house's owner says, "Who is that behind you?" When entering the house you'll see a samurai's armor in the center of the room with papers strewn all over the floor. The left room holds a funeral room from what I understand. The picture of the recently deceased is one of anguish, and pretty creepy in its own right. In the northern room there are 2 statues on the table in the center, surrounded by dolls lining the perimeter and candles lining the back. The room to the right is some sort of celebration room with a campfire in the middle that a figure with a conical hat is standing in front of. There are talismans all over the walls and a man in a cat mask on the back wall. In the basement we see a room with food on a table in front of several seats. 2 seats are taken up by a figure and what seems to be the deceased partner of the figure. So that was a lot. Unlike Ica Village, this doesn't seem to so much tell a chronological story as it tells a story about the disturbing events going on in this town. Perhaps the creature depicted in the drawings on the floor of the second house was summoned by someone, and it required human sacrifices, which is why in the final house we see the sacrificial room and the disturbing picture of the girl at the funeral. But that's just my speculation, honestly. Drop your own theories below if you have any. On to the next location. Wario Land 2 is a Game Boy game that was released by Nintendo in 1998. In this game, you traverse the land as Wario, platforming your way to Captain Syrup, who has your treasure. In the Game Boy Color version specifically, the game is always pretty colorful and full of life. Well, until you reach the really final chapter. This area is something akin to a liminal space, the constant pink brick wall seeming to be never ending and giving an odd sense of loneliness. The music doesn't help either, the beat being spaced apart just enough that you continue to understand just how lonely and eerie this place is. Of course, this is all disregarding the eyes, ears, and mouths on the walls. I don't think anyone wants to know exactly how those got there. Regardless, I think that this area is a really underrated one that more people should talk about, and I'm surprised I hadn't heard more about it in other people's videos. PT, otherwise known as Playable Teaser, is a game in the Silent Hill franchise that was initially released in 2014. Although it remains unfinished today, and always will, there is one area that did the game more than enough justice, this being the main area, the hallway. Now, obviously in a horror game, the majority of areas can be disturbing, hence why I have more child-friendly games prior to this one. It's just more off-putting when a more peaceful and lighthearted game has a creepy area. However, that's what makes this area so powerful. Despite this being a horror game, this one still sticks out as being especially terrifying. So, why is this area so bad? Well, the first and main part for me is the infinite nature of the hallway. In PT, for those who don't know, you continuously walk through the same hallway area over and over as different things in your environment change, causing certain events to happen. The infinite nature of this area reminds me a lot of the back rooms. Even though there's a door to the outside world and it seems like it has to eventually have an end, it never does. The deep and primal fear of truly being alone and unable to escape is relatively present here, at least until certain entities start popping up. And that leads to point number 2. The way this hallway is laid out, it's just small enough to make you feel trapped, and has enough corners for you to never really know what's up next. There's a constant feeling of tension from the jump, and the psychological horror plays into the area extremely well. The dim lighting and such only adds to the overall experience of the area, which in my opinion is one of the creepiest of any video game ever. Released on the Nintendo 64 in 1998, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is widely known to be one of the greatest games ever made. In this game you play as Link, of course, and venture through the land of Hyrule, solving different puzzles and gaining power as you work to defeat Ganondorf. There are a few areas in this game that give people the creeps. One of these is the bottom of the well. Immediately when entering the well, the music you're greeted with is extremely ominous. It perfectly fits the dark and unknown nature of the bottom of the well. In the first room you enter, there's a skeleton laying in the corner, and Navi says she can hear the spirits whispering to look for the Eye of Truth. Yeah, I guess this is a horror game now. We then have this maze with all these dirty jail cells strewn throughout, and the giant flying skulls with wings, of course. Eventually, after going through a crawl space, which is creepy in its own right, you'll reach the infamous Dead Hand room. What is a dead hand, you may ask? Well, it looks like this, and it has hands that grab you, and it also tries to eat you, which, considering the coloring, it probably has succeeded at before with other people. You know, this E for everyone rating is starting to make less and less sense. It also doesn't help that it just lays on the ground and twitches for a bit after you defeat it. Ugh. Continuing on with the creepy imagery, we have rooms with skulls on the walls, a room with coffins and a Gibdo, which is just a mummy that latches onto you and saps away health. Also this creepy painting. Nintendo loves to put weird stuff on the walls. Also this enemy right here reminds me of SCP-173, which is pretty horrifying. Although unlike SCP-173, you can just blow it up with a bomb, but still. The same goes for this creepy looking worm guy that can eat you. Well, that was something. I hope you enjoyed though. For the few of you that made it this far, I sincerely appreciate you for watching, and if you genuinely enjoyed this video, like and sub and all that good stuff. Also, follow my Twitter and Instagram linked in the description and pinned comment. That's all I got for this one. Have a good day.